Man, this comic book sucks. And the reviews online said it was good. I wasted my money. Why didn't somebody tell me?
Welcome to Spinner Rack. We're back to reviewing comic books. We have our second review today, and right now we have P Money here, and we also have
Calvin Ellis. And we're on to Doctor Strange, who's got his film coming out. So he actually has a series again.
Oh, yeah.
He actually has a series again. If you're in the UK, you're lucky because he's going to come out about 2 or 3 days before we get to see it here in the States. So please don't upload it. Please wait a week before you start uploading it for free download, for free anything. Let everybody get a chance to see it first before they get tempted to see it for free. But thankfully he's got a series again. One of the hardest characters to keep in a comic series after his initial start. Now, if you're a long-time reader like myself, you remember Doctor Strange was originally the master of black magic. And then it moved from black magic, for obvious reasons, it moved from black magic to being master of the mystic arts. Because the mystic arts are harder to define as being evil. Black magic, yes, that was never supposed to be done. He gets a different outfit, and he gets a new accoutrement as well. And we'll forget about that period where he wore a mask. That was just bad. But
even a superhero. Stan he just struggled with the character, so he's like, let's make him a superhero now.
Hey, it was still I didn't like the costume. I did not like the outfit, but that early Ditko Stan Lee run, regardless of whatever is said behind the scenes, is probably, with the exception of the stuff that when Frank Bruno was on the book and those stories, just some really creative and imaginative stuff. I remember there was a storyline, then we'll get to the comic. I promise we will get to the comic. But there's a storyline where, he's being chased all around the world, and he finally gets on a plane, and the plane's about to take off, and they find him on the plane. And I'm a kid reading this. I'm like, how is he gonna get out of this? And then I totally forgot. His astral self comes out and starts beating the crap out of these guys while he's just sitting there. And I was reading it like, wow, I forgot he could do all of this. And then, again, it's one of the reasons I've really appreciated Stan Lee over the course of so many years, because Stan had his hands on all of these stories, be it a little or a lot.
Well, this one, when you see those aspects, when, I think that was the first Ditko asked to plot it. And he says not because you had, I think Loki brought in early on, it was the haunted house story. And there was different scripters that came on later, and Ditko said, let me just plot. I know. And then from that point, you see him take over Spider-Man 2. So it was like that point. But then, of course, Stan never misses a beat as far as the synergy between the two of them.
Right.
It's really a great book. And then, of course, you look at it after Ditko leaves, and it's still a strong book when Marie Severance comes on there. Right. A ton of people. So not to discount just that period with them.
It's a shame because she was so strong on that book, and her King Cole was just so lacking.
You don't like King? Come on. King Cole and her brother inking it?
What should King Cole have been? When you think about it, King Cole should have been Game of Thrones, because this is the guy on.
He's saying the comic itself.
Yeah, the comic. Okay. It was just, it just never really hit. Not because Conan was always the guy like slashing everything, and but Cole was supposed to be this barbarian trying to maintain the throne. Anyway, so we get to, all of this prefaces this particular issue, because since that Halcyon period, it's just really difficult to keep Doctor Strange in print. Why? Because Doctor Strange pretty much has unlimited power as the Sorcerer Supreme, master of the mystic arts. There's very few things that he can't do, but it's also a sign of just how distant these guys have gotten from the imagination and the creativity that it's necessary to write magic. Okay, before, if you had a duel between, say, magic and science, magic would always win, because magic was like, look, I can just create fire anywhere. I don't need air. I can spontaneously combust anywhere. Okay, whereas then it became magic is the other side of the coin and of the science, but that was pretty much just writer's cheat, so they didn't have to really think about it or be creative with it. So now I'm coming into this book and I'm like, okay, let me see what they have, because you really need to push the magic. Okay, you need to push that as long as this guy has a thinking brain. And Doctor Strange's when you think about it, the reason why he's a master of the mystic arts is not so much that he has all of this magical energy that he can tap into, but it's the creativity. Okay, that's the way I've always put it. The other guy, like a Baron Mordo, even a Brother Voodoo, their creativity is just not what Doctor Strange's is. And that's why he is the master of the mystic arts and Sorcerer Supreme. So I'm opening up the book and I'm just hoping, look, give me some of this. And
it's coming.
give me some of this, and don't disappoint me. And I wasn't disappointed. I actually enjoyed the issue from start to finish. I was very surprised at how much they're trying to distance themselves from a lot of the stuff and a lot of the missteps they did with Doctor Strange in previous series, but also in his appearances around the Marvel Universe, because I think was it Joe Quesada or Brian Michael Bendis? One of these two jerks decided that Doctor Strange was too powerful. And so they always do the same malarkey. They got to give him some trauma. They strip power of him. He can't use magic, or they'll freaking break his hands all over again. And I'm like, no. Doctor Strange, to a large extent, is like the Silver Age Superman. He's got an unlimited access of abilities before him. Your job, okay, is to put him in situations where those abilities need to happen, where he's thoroughly challenged, and then also know when to give him some downtime, so you're not always grinding it out. Like, I got to come up with something else big. It's got to top this, and no. Let him go through a story, pace the story out. Like that Ditko Lee story, where it went on for how long? About 7 or 8 issues. Yeah, and I think it was able to do that because it wasn't the full issue either. They were just the book was being shared. Yeah. But they were able to pace that out, and it never felt paced. You were always finger on the pulse. You wanted to see what was it. And I had to admit, when I came into this, I do want to see more of it, especially with the new, with the film coming out. I would really like to see that they have a character that's actually in line with what's going on in their films, since everybody else in the Marvel universe is, if they're in the movie, they're not in the book. Okay. But I'm really, really surprised at how good this was and how much I enjoyed it.
Well, I don't know. This one was okay. I see your points. It just lacked a little bit of oomph to me. I like Kevin Nolan's art. I'm not always an Aaron fan. Some of his stuff is okay. I didn't like his Wolverine and X-Men. And being a Doctor Strange fan from, it's also a tough thing because, as a kid, I didn't keep up with it. And there was a ton of books that I missed that Roger Stern did. I didn't collect back issues of the Englehart, Brunner ones. I did know the Ditko issues. And then I didn't know Paul Smith had drawn a bunch of them post X-Men. So I'm like, all right, so this one, I think it started well because it had Chris Bachalo, and it has Kevin Nolan on this. It was just adding a mutant drug, and that sort of bothered me. And then having but they've been
doing that for years now with this mutant drug.
I don't like
this mutant growth hormone.
I don't know it. I didn't know it, and I was just like, no. And then it's like, is this Cyclops power gonna relate to later? I don't know. So maybe this thing in the Mordo scene was okay. But I was just like, adding another bit to it, I don't know. Maybe it was just a little bit too much of the new adding to was bothersome to me. But otherwise, it's an okay episode, maybe sort of a down episode, revealing some of the past that we hadn't seen. And going through it again, it was just like, maybe it isn't that problematic. It's just, maybe I just have a problem with Aaron. Maybe that's what's coming up. Maybe it's not fine. I maybe have to look at it again.
Well, I have significant problems with Aaron. It's called Thor. It's called that's not him. They got Thor running around with a vagina. I'm like, no, that's not Thor. Okay, Jane Foster was never worthy, and you still haven't told us. And I have a new book coming out, Thor the Unworthy. I was like, if you spend money on that, you are legitimizing over a year's worth of stories where Thor has been marginalized to the point that he's a stock character, and that should never happen to him. But that's besides the point.
Going just one bit, what's the name? Odin had taken Thor's power away, and he was still Thor. Yeah. Still worthy, still not, basically I have nothing, but he's doing
in this story, in Aaron's storyline, Odin isn't worthy. He can't lift the hammer. And then they have Odin becoming some sort of sexist, and I'm like, what is this? It's such pandering at the end of the day. I was like, I see where you're going with, and the thing that I don't like about it is, like, if you wanted to do that, you could have had Odin deposed, and you could have put somebody else in, and that could have been your sexist jerk or something of that nature. But Odin was never like that. If you were a worthy warrior, Odin had no problem putting you on male, female, dwarf, whatever it was. I mean, that's the same thing. Beta Ray Bill came. He didn't say, okay, no, only my son can have it. He was like, no, I got two worthy warriors here. There's an easy way maybe not necessarily easy, but there's a way for me to split the difference here. They're both worthy. Both of you guys will get the power, which also showed me how powerful Odin must be. If like you can enchant both of these guys with that much ability.
Well, this is still related because it's Aaron related.
That's right.
If we go to the aspect of Beta Ray Bill, the aspect of what Odin being all seeing was able. That's one thing that Beta Ray Bill points out is like some of these things work to my advantage from the disadvantages you've had. So Odin then Thor's like Odin could still be at play. It could be his his trickery, but at the same time, it's a bigger picture to save the universe. So when you look at that aspect of writing a character, that makes Odin, maybe all these things set up to this major plot. So that made him even all-seeing as even we as the audience, like all this time it made sense.
Yeah.
Every time he got screwed over.
If you look at him like the master manipulator.
Yes, and not what Aaron would do to hit like a.
No, Aaron doesn't. It's pandering. It's just flat out bull roar pandering at the end of the day.
And that's the thing about if you look at Thor as a character, if most Asgardians look at human as mortal, meaning that they're going to pass on. It's temporary.
Right.
So, and Thor is like, no, I care about him. That's one problem that people never got. It's like, oh, he's regal. He doesn't, he's above us. It's like, no, he given up Asgard. He goes back, but he cares for Earth, and he's saying, I'm his guardian. So he cares about all of that, and that's what you have to remember. That's why he's always going to be worthy, because he's always out there when he could be in Asgard with Sif and have children and then save the universe at some point. Yeah. But I think, I'd like to see a regular story. I didn't want to see too much more backstory of Doctor Strange and getting into whether he got his hands, because I think that was one of the interesting parts of his character, that could he now go back to his profession as a doctor? And Roger Stern played to it as he's respected in the hospitals, but we don't know that he'd go back to surgery. And it's an interesting bit to say that it's something that he doesn't want to go back, he's not interested in going back to, because he has all these other, controlling the mystic arts, controlling black magic. That's what he has to deal with. Yeah. He doesn't have time to do surgery. But he gives a nice bit.
And that was like the Achilles heel or the feet of clay that all the Marvel characters had, where Tony Stark had the heart problem. Yes. Spider-Man, of course, had the guilt. Yeah. And Doctor Strange was okay. He's still this doctor, but he's never going to be able to perform surgery again. Would he use magic to give him the ability? And then if he does,
has he or has he not? It's always open the.
And if he does, it kind of defeats the purpose at the end of the day, because that world it's not so much close to him, but there's a bigger world that he's more, he's needed. He's more needed there. It really would defeat the purpose and all the lessons that he learned, doing that. And then you have to wonder, did Odin have anything to do with Doctor Strange? But he's manipulating those events. That would be funny. But yeah, I guess, man, after you say this, I'm kind of wondering, did I like it because of what I read, or did I like it because Aaron was on the book and I didn't think he just totally screwed Doctor Strange over?
Well, that's thing.
That's something to think on.
It's not that. It's just me, having a little bit of more revisionist history of it. That's what I'm sort of like running into. Like, is this how much? And I don't want to play with, is he healed, or is it that he still, his hands have a problem? Like, I don't necessarily need that. I just don't need him to do any surgery anymore. So I think that him making the decision that I don't know.
That's one of those things they never put to bed with his character. I was happy when they did that with Iron Man, where they, they put it to bed about the heart, and I was like, okay, fine. Because there's plenty of other stuff you can put him in.
They gave him something else later, which they fixed.
But that was the mistake. If you're going to put this to bed, don't put this to bed so you can open up another can of worms. Just put it to bed. There's plenty of other stuff.
I think
the Mandarin is still a big threat, whether he's got the heart problem or not.
They made him a drunk after that. And it's like,
exactly.
You didn't.
They made him a drunk twice.
No, they did one story, and then
they wrapped that up in that story.
Yes, exactly. And then Danny O'Neill is like, I'm going through this in my real life.
Yes, we're gonna do this the whole year.
And he's like, no, you're doing that on. This is going too far. So my apologies. I'm going too far on the Danny O'Neill and the drinking connection to Iron Man.
Well, drinking connection aside, it was too long. It didn't have to happen. It wasn't necessary. Yes. The story was done already, and the whole idea was to give Rhodey a chance in the suit. R.I.P. Rhodey. We'll see you next year. We know they'll bring you back.
But you brought that up. Well, we actually need to wrap this one up only because we got.
Sorry.
We have. Well, we got to give it a.
I was going to give it a 4, but then I talked with you. I'm going to lower it to a 3. Because Aaron, I know you're up to something. I know you're up to something, and I don't trust you.
I was going to give it a 2, but I'll give it a 3. Say, look, I've liked the issues before this. Maybe it's something to recommend and stick with later. And we're out.
We'll see you back here soon.
One more.
Thanks, Spinnerack. You saved me money.